others with a servant's heart is more than a simple act of kindness. It is a way of being, a rhythm of the soul that moves in harmony with the needs of the world. It is not about grand gestures or public praise. It is about seeing people, truly seeing them, and choosing to step into their world with love, with grace, with a willingness to carry what they can no longer bear alone. A servant's heart does not seek rewards or recognition. It does not measure worth by titles or possessions. It moves where it is needed, offering hands when the load is too heavy, a voice when silence feels unbearable, and presence when the weight of loneliness presses too hard. To serve with a true heart is to understand that lifting others does not lower you. It does not take from you, but multiplies within you. It is a silent revolution, a quiet force, a power that turns strangers into family and the broken into the whole. It is the light that flickers in the darkest of places, never demanding to be seen, only determined to shine. There is something about the way the world turns that can make a person forget that we were not placed here to walk alone, to chase only what serves us, to close our doors to the weary and our hearts to the hurting. But every now and then, life has a way of shaking us, whispering in our ears, pulling at the edges of our comfort, asking, what are you doing for someone else? What have you given that cannot be measured in currency, but in the weight of a relieved sigh, a lifted burden, a soul that now stands because you chose to bend? I have seen people build empires with hands that never once reached for another. I have watched wealth grow in vaults, untouched by the needs of the many. And I have witnessed, too, the smallest hands, the quietest voices, the unnoticed ones, who give not because they have much, but because they know what it means to have nothing. They give not from abundance, but from understanding. They do not count what they have lost, only what they can offer. There is a kind of love that does not wait for perfect conditions. It does not say, let me gather first, let me be stable first, let me find time first. No, this love moves now. It moves in the middle of its own storms, in the heart of its own struggles, because it knows helping others is not a privilege reserved for the wealthy, the powerful, the ones who have it all figured out. It is a duty, a calling, a fire that burns within every soul willing to step beyond itself. I have seen hands calloused from labor, still outstretched to lift another. I have seen the tired, the weary, the ones who have carried too much for too long, still finding the strength to carry someone else. And I have seen the ones with everything, standing still, waiting for a moment that never comes, because they have made giving conditional. They have made serving transactional. But true service, true giving, it does not wait. It does not ask, what do I get in return? It simply moves. A servant's heart does not count. It does not weigh its good deeds against its sacrifices. It does not remind the world of what it has done. It simply does, and then does again and again, until kindness is no longer a choice, but a way of being. It is a mother who feeds her child before feeding herself, though her stomach groans with hunger. It is a friend who stays up through the night, though their own eyes beg for rest. It is the stranger who stops when others walk by, the voice that speaks when silence feels safer, the presence that stays when the world turns away. But let me tell you what this world will do. It will try to convince you that serving is weakness, that kindness is naive, that selflessness is foolish. It will tell you to build walls, to protect what is yours, to look out only for yourself because no one else will. It will try to harden you, to make you believe that a giving heart is a losing heart. But hear me now. Do not let the world steal from you what is most precious. Do not let it close your hands when they were made to give. Do not let it quiet your voice when it was made to uplift. The world has enough power-hungry men, enough self-serving women, enough people chasing their own gain with no thought of who is left behind. What the world needs is more who ask, how can I serve? More who kneel to lift others instead of climbing to stand above them. More who understand that true strength is not found in dominance, but in compassion. Somewhere right now, there is someone who needs what you have to give. It may not be wealth. It may not be knowledge. It may not be anything you think is significant, but to them, it will mean everything. Your presence, your kindness, your willingness to listen, to show up, to care. It will be the difference. And do not think for a moment that small things do not matter. A single drop of rain does not flood a field, but many drops together bring life to the land. So be the drop that nourishes, the hands that lift, the heart that serves. Do not ask if it is worth it. Do not count what it costs you. Just give, because when the day comes that you need lifting, when the weight is too much, when the night is too long, may you find that the same hands you once helped are now reaching back for you. And if you have ever felt unseen, unheard, unneeded, let me tell you something now. The world may not always recognize the work of a servant's heart. It may not celebrate the quiet sacrifices, the unseen efforts, the burdens you carry without complaint. But do not mistake silence for insignificance. Do not let the absence of applause make you believe that what you do does not matter. The greatest acts of love are rarely performed on grand stages, and the burden you wear, they happen in the shadows, in the quiet corners of life, where no cameras flash, no crowds gather, no awards are given, but they are the moments that change lives. There is a child somewhere right now who will sleep with a full belly because someone chose to give. There is a woman breathing a little easier because someone took the time to listen. There is a man who was ready to give up, ready to disappear into the background of a world that no longer saw him until a single act of kindness reminded him that he still matters. And maybe that act did not cost money, did not take hours, did not require grand effort. Maybe it was a moment, a word, a glance that held enough warmth to remind him that he is not invisible. And that was enough. We live in a time where people rush, where time is currency, where everything is measured by how much you can gain, how fast you can climb, how far you can go. But in all the running, all the chasing, all the striving, too many forget that the greatest impact is not in what you build for yourself, but in what you do for others. A servant's heart understands this. It is not concerned with titles, with prestige, with being first in line. It does not push ahead by stepping over others. It walks beside, sometimes behind, making sure no one is left alone in the struggle. But let me tell you, the road of a servant's heart is not always easy. There will be days when you will pour out and receive nothing in return. There will be moments when your kindness is taken for weakness, when your giving heart is met with coldness, when your help is rejected, unappreciated, even mocked, and it will hurt. It will make you wonder if it is worth it, if it is foolish to keep serving in a world that does not always give back. But hear me. Serve anyway, give anyway, love anyway, because you do not serve for recognition. You do not give for applause. You give because it is who you are, because the weight of selfishness is far heavier than the burden of giving, because a life lived only for oneself is a life half lived. And if the world does not thank you, if the ones you help never turn back to acknowledge you, if your name is never spoken in gratitude, still do not stop. Because your service is not for validation. Your heart is not a ledger keeping score. And one day, somewhere down the road, in ways you may never see, the seeds you have planted in love will bloom in places you never expected. A hand you once lifted may one day lift another. A kindness you once gave may be carried forward in ripples that touch lives far beyond your reach. But do not think for a moment that a servant's heart is without strength. It takes strength to give without expecting. It takes strength to carry when your own shoulders are tired. It takes strength to look at a world that often seems selfish, harsh, unforgiving, and still choose to be kind. Strength is not in power. Strength is not in wealth. Strength is in the ability to love even when the world gives you every reason not to. I have seen the strongest people, and they were not the ones who stood on the highest platforms, not the ones with the most riches, not the ones who commanded the most attention. They were the ones who had suffered and still chose to heal others, the ones who had been broken and still chose to mend, the ones who had been abandoned and still chose to. These are the warriors of the world, the quiet revolutionaries, the ones who change lives in ways no spotlight will ever capture. And if you are tired, if you feel like your giving has been in vain, if you wonder whether your love, your service, your kindness has made a difference, do not give up, because the world may not always tell you, but somewhere someone breathes easier because of you. Somewhere someone carries a little less pain because of you. Somewhere someone found the strength to keep going because you did not turn away. Let the world chase after its trophies. Let it race towards its fleeting victories. But you be the one who kneels to lift another. Be the one who stops to listen. Be the one who chooses love, chooses kindness, chooses service, even when no one is watching. Because in the end, when all the noise fades, when all the titles and riches and accolades turn to dust, what will remain, what will truly matter, is not how much you had, but how much you gave. Not how high you climbed, but how many you helped rise. Not how loudly your name was spoken, but how deeply your love was felt. And when your days are done, when your story is told, let it be said that you did not live only for yourself. Let it be said that you saw the hurting and did not turn away, that you had a heart that gave, hands that lifted, love that did not waver. Because that, more than any wealth, any power, any fleeting success, is the greatest legacy a soul can leave behind. And if ever you wonder why the weight of the world feels heavy on your shoulders, why your heart aches at the sight of suffering, why you cannot seem to look away when others turn their backs, it is because you were made for this. Not everyone carries the burden of a servant's heart. Not everyone feels the pull to help, to heal, to stand in the gap where others refuse to go. But you do. And that is not weakness. It is the greatest strength. It is a gift, though the world may try to convince you otherwise. There will be moments when you look around and wonder if you are the only one who cares, the only one who still believes in kindness, the only one who chooses to give when it would be easier to take. You will see greed dressed as ambition, selfishness disguised as success, cruelty masked as power. You will hear voices telling you that love does not win, that kindness is naive, that serving others is a waste of time. And you may start to believe them. You may start to wonder if you should guard your heart, harden your spirit, walk past the suffering as others do. But do not let the world change you. Do not let the bitterness of others poison the well of goodness that lives inside you. Do not let the cruelty of one person convince you that love is not worth giving. Because the world will always need the ones who refuse to turn cold, the ones who reach out even when their hands are empty, the ones who stand up even when their own knees tremble. And maybe the world does not always make it easy to serve. Maybe the road of a giving heart is not lined with comfort, not paved with ease, not met with open arms. Maybe there will be nights when you feel like the only light in a room full of darkness, days when your kindness is met with indifference, moments when your love feels like it is being poured into an empty well. But serve in any way, love anyway, give anyway, because you do not know whose life you are changing. You do not know who is watching, who is learning, who is finding hope in your presence. You do not know the battles others are fighting in silence, the weight they carry behind closed doors, the prayers they whisper in the dark. And maybe, just maybe, your kindness is the answer to a prayer someone was too afraid to speak. There is power in a single act of compassion. A word can soften a heart that has been hardened by years of pain. A gesture can remind someone that they are not invisible. A moment of understanding can be the difference between giving up and holding on. And though the world may not keep record of these things, though your name may never be written in books or spoken on stages, know this: your service is not forgotten. It is written in the lives you touch, in the burdens you lift, in the silent gratitude of those who may never find the words to thank you. And let me tell you something about the ones who live with a servant's heart. They may not be the richest, but their souls are full. They may not be the loudest, but their presence is felt. They may not be recognized by the world, but they are known in the hearts of those they have helped, those they have healed, those they have held in their weakest moments. And that is worth more than all the gold, all the titles, all the fleeting victories this world could ever offer. But do not think that having a servant's heart means you must be without boundaries. Giving does not mean allowing yourself to be drained until there is nothing left. Serving does not mean neglecting yourself until you are too weary to stand. A candle that burns too fast has no light to offer. A well that runs dry cannot quench. To truly give, to truly serve, you must also know when to rest, when to refill, when to care for the one heart that allows you to care for so many others, your own. And there will be those who take more than they give, those who see your kindness as something to exploit, those who will take without gratitude, without care, without thought of what it costs you. But let them not make you bitter. Let them not make you regret your giving nature, because you do not serve for them. You serve because it is who you are. And though some may take advantage, there will always be those who truly need what you have to offer, those who are saved by your willingness to give, and they make it worth it. And if ever you grow weary, if ever the weight of it all becomes too much, remember this: you are not alone. There are others like you, walking this same road, carrying the same burdens, fighting the same battles. There are others whose hearts beat with the same rhythm of compassion, others who understand the beauty and the pain of a life lived for more than just oneself. And when you feel like giving up, when you wonder if it is all in vain, know that somewhere someone is still holding on because of you. And one day when you look back, when the dust settles and the years have passed, you will see the footprints you left behind. You will see the faces of those you lifted, the lives you touched, the hearts you softened. And in that moment, you will know that every act of love, every moment of kindness, every time you chose to serve instead of turning away, it all mattered. It all made a difference. It all built something far greater than wealth, greater than power, greater than any earthly reward. It built a legacy of love. And if you ever find yourself questioning whether you've done enough, whether your efforts have meant anything at all, remember that impact is not always something you can see. It does not always come with thank yous or recognition. Sometimes it is a shift so small that it moves unseen beneath the surface, like roots growing deep before they ever break the ground. You may never know whose life you saved by simply being kind, whose heart you mended by offering a moment of understanding, whose pain you lessened by taking time to listen. But trust that no act of love is ever wasted. There is a difference between living and existing. Existing is moving through the days, fulfilling obligations, collecting possessions, seeking comfort above all else. Living is finding purpose beyond yourself, feeling the weight of others' burdens and choosing to carry what you can, seeing a need and answering it, even when it is inconvenient. To live is to give, to serve, to open your hands and your heart and let the world be better because you walked through it. And that kind of life may not always be easy, but it will always be full. Some people measure success by how much they have gained, but real success is measured by how much you have given. Not in dollars, not in riches, but in love, in time, in the moments you chose to put someone else before yourself. Because at the end of it all, no one will remember the car you drove or the size of your house, but they will remember how you made them feel, how you showed up when no one else did, how you offered a piece of yourself when they had nothing left. The world may tell you that strength is in power, in dominance, in building a name so large that no one can ignore it. But the greatest strength is found in gentleness, in the ability to stand firm in love, even when the world tries to turn you hard. It takes more strength to be kind in a cruel world than to be cruel in return. It takes more strength to offer a helping hand when you have been let down, to give when you have been taken from, to serve when you have been overlooked. But that is the strength that matters. That is the strength that changes lives. And maybe you will never see the full impact of what you do. Maybe you will never hear the words of gratitude, never know the lives that were altered because you chose to serve with a full heart. But somewhere, someone is breathing easier because you were willing to give. Someone is standing taller because you lifted them when they could not stand on their own. Someone is walking forward with hope because you reminded them that they were not forgotten. And that is enough. That is everything. There is a love that does not ask for repayment, a kindness that does not demand recognition, a service that does not seek a reward. That is the love, the kindness, the service that leaves a mark far deeper than anything money could buy. It is found in the small, quiet moments, in the way you stop to help a stranger, in the way you offer patience when frustration would be easier, in the way you choose to see people, their pain, their needs, their worth, when the world would rather walk past. And though the world may try to convince you otherwise, though it may tell you that looking out for yourself is all that matters, that love is a weakness, that kindness is a risk, do not believe it. Keep giving, keep loving, keep serving, because the ones who have changed the world the most were not the ones who took, but the ones who gave, the ones who chose compassion over convenience, selflessness over self-preservation, love over fear, compassion and selflessness over self-preservation. They are banished from the face, panic, and they did not always see the change they created, but that did not make it any less real. There will be days when you are tired, days when you wonder if it is worth it, days when the weight of the world feels too heavy on your shoulders. But let me tell you something. Your heart was made for this. It was made to care, to give, to serve. And though the road may be long, though the nights may feel endless, you are not alone. There are others like you, walking this same path, carrying the same burdens, believing in the same love. And together, though the world may try to tell you otherwise, you are making a difference. So do not stop. Do not grow weary. Do not let the darkness around you dim the light inside of you, because the world needs what you have to give. It needs your heart, your kindness, your willingness to stand where others sit, to speak where others stay silent, to give where others withhold. It needs you not for what you have, not for what you own, not for what you can achieve, but for the love you carry, the service you offer, the difference you make. And that, more than anything else, is what truly matters. And so after all the giving, after all the moments spent lifting up others, every act of service that went unseen, unthanked, and unrecognized, know this, none of it was in vain. The world may not always acknowledge the ones who give without expectation, but it is built upon their love. Every quiet kindness, every small sacrifice, every time you chose to serve instead of turning away, It has shaped lives in ways you may never fully understand. The ripples of your compassion extend further than you will ever see. So even when the weight feels heavy, even when the road feels long, do not stop. A servant's heart does not seek reward, yet it leaves behind a legacy greater than riches, deeper than fame. Love given freely is never lost. And in the end,